Hi, Heather and Laura. I have been working towards creating a set of business intelligence data models, or tables rather, to create a new model for the pillar service data. And at this point, I thought it would just be helpful for you and your staff to have a bit of a dashboard into the counts of the pillar services with a few metrics such as date since last updated, date since last verified, and then just general counts on each of the services within the pillars, and a little bit more data if helpful. So this is by no means the reports that will be produced for the project, but wanted to do a couple of things. First of all, I have been working towards creating the staging tables staging tables are essentially temporary tables that are leveraging the data now that's being replicated every night, the resource data, over into Azure. So I've gone ahead and started to build out those tables, created the model, and now built a little bit of a dashboard, which you're looking at now. So what I've done, and again, this is just to get you going if you're curious as to the number of services and the quality of those records within each of the pillar areas, I've added the report up into your BI Dev workspace. So it's not in your production workspace, but it is in your BI Dev workspace. It's called NCCare360, so that's what we're looking at now. And I have scheduled the refresh of the data off of the NCCare360 resource data that's being replicated over by iCarol. So I can share details and get into more information if you're interested, but just wanted to give you a bit of a show and tell of what's here. Okay, so this is the main dashboard, and we have the count of your iCarol services. So you have identified your records in iCarol by ID and then created the Excel spreadsheet to identify the pillar in which the roughly 2,000 or so services are linked to. So I've used that information, I've imported that in as a staging table. So that's essentially how I link the data together. And every night when iCarol replicates your resource data, the resource IDs stay the same. So the Excel records that you created with the IDs associated to identify pillar data is sort of how this all came together. Okay, so we're looking at the total number of services broken out by pillar. We have a little bit of a pie chart here that identifies the number of services again, but gives you the filtering capability, so you understand how all that works. So I won't go into a lot of detail there. I as well have created let's call it a days since or months since aging metric on both the last updated and last verified columns from iCarol. So what this essentially says is a count of services that have been updated in the last 3 months. So 524 of the total number of services have been, pillar services that is, have been updated in the last 3 months. And we can see that there's 214 services that haven't been updated or were last updated more than a year ago. Did the same thing for verified. So we've got the 538 records here that were verified 12 to 24 months ago, and 276 records have been verified within the last 3 months. Okay, so those are some metrics, and selecting any one of the metrics will change the data, of course, in the rest of the charts, as you're probably already aware. What we have in the table is we're showing the count of services by pillar, by county. So, for example, in Wake County, 58 pillar services for food, 32 for housing, 28 for interpersonal violence, 7 for transportation, with a total of 117 pillar services in the county of Wake. So by selecting any particular county, of course, you can then have the data, the metrics on last verified and last updated changed, or you can go back the other way, of course, and filter the table. So I'll leave that for you to play with, but it's a good sort of check on the data. Whoops. The other thing I want to show you is how to access some of the records inside of each of the lines here. So again, we're showing the total number of pillar services broken out by pillar. In this case, we're looking at Haywood. So if we wanted to drill into Haywood and understand actually which records in iCarol Haywood County has with respect to these pillar services, right click on the county, hit drill through, and select pillar services with ID. And what this will do is automatically push you over into a second report with the filter of Haywood County already applied. So now what we're looking at is I'll just jump back here, is when I jumped into Haywood, we have 55 services. We drilled through into Haywood, and here are those 55 services. These are your actual iCarol service records with their description and the ID available, as well as the pillar that the service is associated with. And these are your 55 records. So it gives you some visibility into the records that are actually showing in this table here. Okay, so that, again, this is just a very simple report that I've created to give you some insight from a visual level anyways, as to the range, the composition of the pillar services, and some metrics in terms of the quality with the ability to drill in and look at some of those records. Hopefully this will help. The data will refresh on a nightly basis, and as we move forward, of course, we'll be thinking about a whole bunch of different metrics that need to go into these kinds of reports, both for an internal view and as well for sharing with the NCCare360 project. Okay, hopefully this works for you. Talk to you soon.